If you believe in liberty, you'll vote for Tim O'Connor, 'cause he believes in the Constitution. And as your assemblyman, he will be your voice. He'll never let you down, make Tim his choice. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We finally had a man who hears your voice. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Tim O'Connor is the only choice. Write in Tim O'Connor, Libertarian, for New York State Senate, Senate District 51.
All right, guys. It is October 13th, 2020, and I am live again tonight. I am looking for questions and thoughts from my Democratic friends who want to know what a libertarian might do to serve them in Senate District 51. As always, we got to give a shout out to my buddy Brian LaRusso. We had a great conversation last night. Old guard, new fire. I love that guy. He's got a lot of great energy and he does a wonderful job communicating his positions and his friends' positions and what he is trying to do in New York State. We have so many agreements. Part of the reason why I want to have this conversation tonight with Democrats, things that they're going to wrestle with, things that they're going to want a libertarian to do, things that they want to beat me up on. I'm ready for it. I'm willing and I'm able to answer questions. You guys know that I can do it off the cuff. Sometimes you won't like the answers to my questions, but that's okay. We can work out agreements. Shelly Scholz is in the house. Thank you, Shelly, for being here. It was very much appreciated. Was worried about your Facebook banning. I don't know what you did wrong. You better cut it out, though. People get a little petty around these election cycles. So you say the wrong thing and somebody reports a comment, Facebook automatically deletes you. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, guys, to my Democratic friends, okay, and to the guys that I talked to last night, I got asked a question. Brian and I were kind of running out of time and getting down towards the end, and it was a quick question about bail reform. And I want to talk about bail reform because I want to blow up our understanding of it. And I basically came down straight up in favor of bail reform in our conversation. And I want to be clear about something, that the current iteration of bail reform, okay, is inappropriate. It was legislated inappropriately. It is incorrectly done, and it absolutely needs to be fixed, guys. There is no doubt that it's an unfunded mandate on our local communities, on our judges who want to keep violent people off the streets and who want the process of judicial review, who they deserve. Our communities deserve judges. We're paying them. They have the right to review whether somebody's in the midst of a violent breakdown, and we need to take care of that and them and our communities. So in its current iteration, I stand against bail reform. As a general rule, am I in favor of better bail reform laws and criminal justice reform? Just like, yes, I have to stand in favor of some criminal justice reform, some bail reform, but better than what was done, because it's and guys, this is not to insult. If you're there, Democrats, please hang in there with me, all right? This is not to insult the one-party system. Well, no, I will insult the one-party system. I think that that's inappropriate. I think we're making a mistake running New York State under the auspices of one party. I think that's a real problem. Yeah, Shelly Scholz. See, you got not just me. I'm not just your fan, but so is Andrew Hamill. Hi, Michelle Ann. How are you? Thank you for joining us. Bold move during a Bills game. Yes, Todd, I'm crazy like that. But you know what? You can listen to me, make some comments, and still watch the Bills game on your TV. And tell me what the score is. And I hope they win because they're 4-0 right now. Yeah, I'm a little worried. There's a lot of zooking going on, a lot of cutting people off, a lot of somebody complains about something and next thing you know, you don't have a Facebook account anymore or a platform. And that I think is kind of a problem. Yeah, we'll get down to that. 4 times in 1 week. Yeah, I can't imagine what's going on with that, Shelly. I got to be honest. So, guys, if we don't get any tough Democratic questions, guys, why don't you, my friends, and come up with something that you think a Democrat might want to ask me? I think that would be fun. And guys, I'm live on Twitter, I'm live on YouTube, and live on Facebook all at the same time through the miracles of modern technology. Excuse me. Dylan Barber, thank you for joining me. Yeah, I remember our comments there, and I meant to get back to you specifically, but yes, the problem with marijuana is that it's a Schedule 1 narcotic, not federally. Okay, that's the number one problem that needs to be fixed. As a state senator, and you guys have all heard me, states are legalizing marijuana. They're doing what they can to fight the federal laws of it being a Schedule 1 narcotic. So it's a race to legalize marijuana. Colorado has done a major amount of marijuana legalization, and their economy is growing, and people are moving there. I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think being open-minded to economic opportunity is where New York State is failing. And marijuana legalization right now, what they're doing, why they're holding off, guys, and this is what they do all the time. Every legislative body, guys, and this is with all due respect to the human beings that work in there, they have lawyers and lobbyists crafting legislation to benefit some sort of big business and to benefit a tax revenue for the state. Now, I think overall, an increase in economic activity in New York State would benefit tax receipts. I want it to be fair. I want it to be more equitable. I want property taxes to be lower. And I don't know if Democrats can get on board with that, because I get into little arguments with them and, like on the Daily Star page and stuff like that. And they seem to think that property rights start with the government, and that's where they end. And I don't agree with that. I think property rights start with us. And I think that that's what this nation was built on, and that property rights are what contributed to the most successful human experiment of all times. And that's the United States of America, period. And we're not perfect, guys. I know that. I get it. I think we can improve things. And we will, but we've got to take a look at guys like me who are willing to do the work, grow a third party, ask for votes as a libertarian, guys. Even though I'm a write-in candidate, I'm asking for votes as a libertarian, as a guy that's willing to step outside the two-party system and sacrifice time with my kids, sacrifice my business, sacrifice maybe my future, because I don't think I'm going to necessarily win this election. But I think my issues, if I keep saying them and you guys keep sharing them and you keep telling people you're going to vote for me, they will be forced to listen to libertarian issues. And that's my number one goal. Guy like Queter in a two-person race may be winnable, right? Maybe winnable. And I think that requires a little different participation from some people. And he's got more help than I do. And I think that's wonderful. Yes, bail reform. It is in its current iteration in New York State, especially, and that's something that I could impact, right, guys? I would fight its current iteration. I do not think it's done correctly. I think it was done horribly. We were putting people, not just guys and girls, in the middle of breakdowns and violent crime sprees, and we're putting them right back on the streets. And guys, you actually have to pay more money to cover your license if you get pulled over for aggravated suspended license on your car. And guys, I did have someone reach out to me, and which, as you guys know, if you reach out to me, I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to try to have a conversation with you. So I had an extended phone conversation with an amazing person today. I'm not going to say their name, but they felt like I was flippant. So that's why I'm blowing up the notion, or expanding. Okay, I use blowing up because whatever, maybe grabs your attention, but expanding the notion of what I mean about how bail reform was done wrong, and how, as a general concept, criminal justice reform, even Trump's on board with that on some level. That is a real thing. I think that everybody in society has some level of agreement that we can do a better job with criminal justice reform and victimless crimes and nonviolent crimes, especially. Okay, guys, we've got to keep having that conversation. And as libertarians, we do. Like onions, regulate marijuana like onions. Yes, I think that would be a big step in the right direction. I know that that's going to be scary for a lot of people. I know my mom used to bust on me like, why are you talking about legalizing marijuana? And it was hilarious. And I'm like, because, Mom, it's already legal in a lot of states. We can legalize it in New York State. In Senate District 51, guys, we can legalize it in a way that gives our farmers, who are struggling, we all agree our farmers are struggling. Their property taxes are too high. It's too hard to get their milk to market. It's too hard sometimes for guys like Dakota Finch to sell their meat to their neighbor without going to a USDA-approved butcher and getting it cut. It's a needlessly expensive process, and we can do better. Same with marijuana, same with hemp. If we can grow onions, we can grow that too. We can grow onions and potatoes and tomatoes, corn, Lots of things do grow good. Hops grow good in upstate New York. The soil's perfect for it. And those aren't the only answers, guys, because we drive all over the place and we see all sorts of buildings falling into the ground that used to be like machine shops and productive pieces of our society where families they've now left and gone to other states. And right now, our county, all it wants to do is serve its budget. And they seem, that's probably not fair. Let me just say, I want them to do better, recognizing that individual property rights are important, that property tax captures value off of a property. Okay. It takes people's property. We're not getting as much as we can for our property for the work that we invest in fixing things up. It makes it very difficult to fix up properties. And when we talk about affordable housing and we look at our property taxes, guys, what in the world? The most expensive component of your rent, about 50 or 60% of the time, is property taxes. How can we have affordable housing if we don't have affordable property tax, affordable school taxes? So we've got solutions. Libertarians got solutions. Larry Sharp has solutions. You guys saw me spend a lot of time with him over the last month. And guys, I'm just so thankful for that. The guy is brilliant. He helps me craft solutions. And you are watching the Bills games. Guys, please share the score with me. I'm a crazy Bills fan. Yes, I knew what you meant, Andrew. Don't you worry about it. Guys, Andrew running for town supervisor out in the town of Maryland. I think he's going to do a good job. He's already making better. He's already forcing the politicians in Maryland, the town supervisor, to do a better job. And he could do a better job than that. Mark Decker, thank you for being here. Yes, make alcohol illegal. We solve the problem. Then prohibition works every time it's tried, right? When we tell people not to do something, don't drink. Let's see, we made an amendment to ban alcohol. Literally, the government poisoned alcohol and killed people to enforce the prohibition against alcohol. It was a very horrible 10,000 people. Check it out. Look it up on Google. I'm not even kidding. I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to get zooked, but it's a true story. Prohibition doesn't work, guys. It plainly and simply does not work. I have friends, guys, that absolutely can express how valuable cannabis and hemp are. And I see a comment down there. Hang in there, Stephanie. We're going to put it up. About how valuable hemp, cannabis, and how they are. First of all, you can make a lot of things out of hemp. Let's go with this. Hemp crops could take care of the plastic paper bag issue. Yes, I believe it. There are certainly a large number of products that can be manufactured from hemp. Okay, that's an absolute fact. Cannabis does an amazing job for a lot of people who are experiencing problems with their cancer treatments, that are experiencing problems with repetitive pain, and they're not as addictive as the opioids. Okay, they don't get you hooked on heroin. It's just, it's healthier. There was a long history of human beings interacting with cannabis and hemp that predated even making paper out of hemp, things like that. One of the reasons why it was a competitive corporatocracy even then that sort of banned or made everyone afraid of marijuana, the ganja, the devil's lettuce. Okay, that's true. Look that up on Google. I'm not making that up. That's a true story. Law enforcement should be enforcing the will of people. Yes, absolutely. We agree with that. I agree with that. You know that. Excuse me. All rules, taxes, regulations. Hey, Ken Williams, by the way. All rules, taxes, regulations, and policies should have only one objective: constitutional service of we the people. Only not yet. Term limits. Freeze on 8. Yes. I agree with all of those things. As a matter of fact, guys, if you have the guts to write me in, I will promise you that the most I will serve in the New York State Senate is 6 years. 6 years. Okay. In that 6 years, I will make an absolute mess. I don't want to say mess because I'm going to be respectful, but we're going to try to grow liberty. And Ken Williams is a liberty advocate, just like myself. He does a lot of work. He's a nice guy, absolutely brilliant. We've spent hours and hours together over the years, absolutely hours and hours. And Ken, I hope you heard my expansion of my discussion about bail reform. I think that's important for us to understand. Cuomo hasn't seen or noticed that prohibition ended 70 years ago. Get rid of, yes. I think one of the things that I want to talk about when we get on this subject, guys, is Cuomo and liquor licensing authorities and things like that, we blame the wrong people for bad behavior. If we want young kids to not drink until a certain age, but we take a bar's liquor license away or we find them out of existence, I think that we've transferred the blame to the wrong place. I think that kids should be, if they want to drink, they should be taught that they're responsible for their behavior right from the start. Okay. So what does that mean, right? That means if a kid goes into a bar with a fake ID, the bar itself should not actually get dinged for that. It should be the kid. And I don't know that it should be this huge throw them in jail, lock them up kind of thing. And guys, at 18, can you go fight a war for the U.S. government? Yes. Yes. So can we, if you can fight a war for the U.S. government, can we teach them to be responsible about their behavior in bars? Yes. Can we place responsibility on them to take care of themselves and behave better and not break the law? Yes. So should 17-year-olds be drinking? No, because we won't let them go to war. But if we let 18-year-olds or even be willing to force 18-year-olds to go to war, they should be able to have a beer. And I've always felt that way, and I'm not going to change my mind. Oh, I did. I missed some comments, guys. I'm sorry about that. Oh, that's bad news, Todd. That is really bad news. I'm going to go back up here and try to catch some more. Thomas Daniel Queter he's doing a great job. Amy Dayton, thank you for being here. Ban everything, including ownership. You sound like a socialist, brother, and I know you don't mean that. Let's see. Do you think we should raise taxes to make sure counties like Otsego, Delaware? No, I don't. I don't think we should be raising taxes at all. And as you could see, these guys are trying to be proactive. They're condensing business services. Government, guys, even on the county level, government is a jobs monopoly. It's a jobs program. And then they hire all these guys and they make them contribute to a union, and then the union backs like candidates. It's a very kind of sketchy situation for me. So we do need, this absolutely points to, we need more efficient government. I agree with all of those things, especially, and guys, I know this is where I get a little bit less libertarian. I advocate for us paying our town board officials more money, our village board officials more money, and our county officials more money. Then they won't be like tempted to hire a county manager. They won't be tempted to hire a city manager. They'll be in there getting their elbows and their hands dirty, managing economic opportunity for kids like you, Todd. And that's what needs to happen. They need to be made aware that the laws that they write and they're constantly crafting are destroying the economic future of New York State. When a state that used to have over 20 million people is now down to about 17, guys. I don't know what the numbers are going to be after the census. It may be even worse. Like we're going to be losing seats in the House of Congress, at least 2. And I think that that's a real problem. And I think that metric, that's one simple metric that we can take a look at more often and say, how many people did we lose in the last 6 months? How many people did we lose in the last year? How do we fix that? And guys, the solution's got to start at the bottom. Everyone else wants solutions to come from Cuomo. They want Cuomo to come up with grant programs. What I want is lower taxes and less roadblocks in the way of businesses. Let's see. Oh, Jeff Klein, brother, I haven't had a comment from you in a while. I'm glad to see you. I'm not insinuating it, brother. I live it, man. I fight that every day. Are you insinuating that our rights don't come from the government? Our rights don't come from the government. We are born with them. It can be a religious philosophy for some, which is fine. For me, it can be bigger than that, okay? Every human being in the United, especially if you're born under a constitution, you have rights that did not come from God. They came from you, and all of the same people, all of them have rights. We've got to work on, other countries have to work on their own situation while we fix our situation, though. We can't just say everyone has rights to everything from everybody. One of the rights that we have is the right to own property. We need real back. Yes, not what states we did. We rushed into it. Absolutely. Tori Alexander and Keith Price. I love those. Love them both. You guys know that. SaveTheForestFarm.com. That's right. All right, let's go. Michelle Ann's got along. Someone on Larry's Live said if we don't do what the king asks and we divide him as LPs, he will take all our funding. How do we get around that before we are big enough to fund ourselves? That's an interesting question because the Otsego County Libertarian Party doesn't really have a lot of money anyway. We're going to work on growing that. So I don't know. There is certainly King Andy has done things to destroy the Green Party and the Working Families Party, and to make it harder and harder for the Libertarian Party to maintain their ballot access. But I think we're doing a good job this year. I'm very confident that we can work it out. Yes, Larry Sharp for New York. Yes, I think that would be a great idea. I want him to run again. Ryan, it's going to take some persuasion. We're going to have to. It's tough. He's in a tough spot. He's got things that he's working on that are working good for him. Why would he give that up? His show works good for him. His going around and visiting us and helping us out works good for him. Why would he give that up? And for a life of public service where no one appreciates you, I don't know. Same reason I guess I am, right? Taxation is theft. Permits, license, and fees are extortion. Yes. And guys, let's expand on that because this is a fun thing to talk about. And I'm hoping there are some Democrats that are just not brave enough to make comments. But when we look at permits, licensing, and fees, all we're doing is limiting access to markets and hoping that the government collects some money off of those things. What we want to do is let that market open up a little bit, okay? So when we do that, I think we could see, like in the city of Oneonta, that has licensing fees on electricians and plumbers, and they've tried hard to move away from that. What happened is that they had no electricians and no plumbers, except for one or two, and then those guys would charge outrageous amounts of money. There's a lot of ability to hire guys to do work and then hire an inspector to check that work to make sure that it meets codes. I don't think that I think there's a way to compromise, and I think there's a way to get certifications. If guys want extra certifications and charge more money, that's up to them. And the government can kind of sell those. But the economic opportunity that we can stimulate by loosening up licensing restrictions and lowering fees and being more cooperative as a government agency, we can increase volume of transactions and sales tax in our area, and then therefore grow our economy, right? So if a guy, like I've been talking about this one, and I don't want to mention the guy's name or anything like that, but there was a project in our local area, and guys all over this area, all over Senate District 1, we see projects, we see news about projects. A Target's coming, or a Dave & Buster's is coming, or something's coming, and or water park's coming, and we see the permits are getting all stacked together, and then we see everybody starting to fight them, and then we see, boom, they just disappear. People will not come to New York because taxes are too high and regulations are too oppressive. So then Cuomo shoots back with, we'll pay you to come to New York. We'll give you a big, huge pilot program, okay? We'll bribe you to come here. That's literally what these pilot programs are. And then the pilot programs go directly to the government. And so the people that are affected indirectly or directly by the pilot program or the new business that's coming get nothing from the new business coming to town. So if we're going to bribe anybody, let's bribe everybody that already lives here that's crazy enough to stay in New York and make a living. All right. Oh, good. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate it. Can't get rid of them. All right. I must have missed something. There is a bunch of you guys are doing great with the comments. I'm having yes, rebellion maybe. I think that what we're doing, Garrett, is in a way a soft rebellion, right? What you're doing, what I'm doing, advocating for the Second Amendment, fighting for the Second Amendment. In a sense, in New York, that's almost a form of rebellion right now. I'm not going to lie. And we're fighting that war right now appropriately. A war of ideas. It is a war of ideas. And I think that libertarians want to win the war of ideas, but sometimes libertarians and guys, this is real. If there's libertarians out there, besides me, which I know there are, but we get into conversations where we want to win an argument, and I try hard not to even argue, even though I will argue when it comes right down to it. All right, but we don't really win arguments, and we don't really lose conversations. So that's why you guys are here. You're enjoying the conversation. We're enjoying talking about these things, and I think that can help grow this notion of liberty. And so that's the war for liberty, okay? We're fighting, we're in the arena of ideas. Even though, like Garrett said, there's, rebellion of sorts has to happen. All right, brother. What's up, Joe Keto? Thank you for being in the house. Animals are, it depends on how many you can squeeze in there. I think if you use kittens, you could fit a lot, but that's up to you. I'm not saying that's a good idea. All right. What am I am going to do nothing to fix the Bills defense except keep on rooting for the Bills, regardless of how many times they have dashed my hopes. That's it. That's what I'm going to do. Yes, I want libertarians to keep fighting. Yes, that's why I'm reaching out tonight. And I had a feeling it would be I almost broadcast it to my personal page instead of my Senate page, because I know I have Democratic friends who would join in this conversation. I know I have Democratic friends that are pro 2A, and that they're afraid of being pro 2A because then they can no longer associate, like the Democrat Party will give them that evil eye, like, oh, you think set guns? They'll start talking about guns, Yeah, so we're going to keep fighting, brother. We're going to keep working on things together. That's the only way we're going to get there, man. Write that in the comments, Shelly, because I'll put that up on the screen, and then everybody will see it as they watch this, because I know people are going to watch this. I think I don't. That's a good point. I agree. I think that Larry's solutionary concepts will and could save New York. Maybe keep it out of bankruptcy, but I don't know. That's going to be a tough one. But even if we inevitably are faced with bankruptcy, if Cuomo, I think a guy like Larry Sharp managing that bankruptcy, not getting blamed for it, I think that would be an appropriate step. All right. I will. I'll check your Twitter later, brother. Participation trophies. I don't think the whole participation trophy thing has worked out the way that we anticipated, Emmy. I'll be perfectly honest. I've been very disappointed with some of the kids that got lots of participation trophies as they were growing up. I'm not even joking. And so it didn't work out the way we wanted it to. So maybe we can reel that back into. Yes, a socialist nemesis is the same. And you know what's so funny about that, Garrett and Shelly? They don't even think of themselves as socialist. What they're thinking about is providing equality and quality of life through government force for everyone. When what they're doing to do that, right, is they're taking money from small businesses, which are leaving New York. They're overtaxing farms. They're overregulating farms, thinking that somehow will create cash flow for them. And they're protecting the false virtue of a family farm. Which is okay, but let's let family farms be entrepreneurs. Let's let them do what they want to. Let's make it easier for them to sell their food. Guys, also, if you want to go into, if you know anybody that wants to go into butchering or do butchering in upstate New York, that's actually, I think you could set up a butcher shop if you can set it up fast enough and start making money tomorrow. Literally, I think you could jump in on that because there are not enough butchers. Guys that have protein on the hoof are waiting months to get animals butchered, period. And I think that's actually a growth area because of guys like me talking about it all the time, where you can actually buy protein from your neighbor, and that's a way to fill your freezer, and that's a way to have food security, and it's a way to stimulate your neighbor's economy. I love stuff like that. And I know I'm not the only one talking about it, but I talked about it on Larry's show, and I talk about it every single chance I get, because it is a way to trust your neighbor, to grow your own food stability, food security, and again, keep money local in your community. When you buy meat from a store, that money goes to one of four big slaughterhouses. We don't know where the protein comes from because it's illegal for us to know where the protein comes from. If you buy something from Johnsonville or something like that, you have no idea where that meat came from. And you can't know because it's against the law federally to know where that meat comes from. Guys, that's a failure of our governance. That's one of the things that the government should be doing, is allowing us to have information about whatever we want to have. Instead of that, they protect patents, and they protect big businesses who craft these regulations. And so now we don't even know where our protein comes from when we buy it from any kind of big name meat manufacturer. Yeah, brother. And you and I had a great conversation. We should have some more. I love what you're doing. I see Ola's name there. I love that. I love her, guys. You know it. You know I do. That doesn't mean I don't love Victoria. That doesn't mean I don't get them both. That either one of, yes, we will have this conversation over and over again. What Ola is doing is incredibly impressive. I love it. That is the thing. Share our solutions. No need to argue. And even arguing outside of our group sometimes. But we do argue in our group first, then we argue outside of our group. And having fun with guys, roughnecking with guys that are like us is one thing. But people want solutions. They want to know where libertarians are coming from, and they want to know why we can have better solutions, why a third party is valuable. They want to know why that's important to us. And then if we explain it like why that's important to us, that may help them understand why it could be important to them, and why we think third parties or no parties, guys. I'd be all big fan of no parties. They just be like, make parties illegal, and that's fine. All right, I guess what I meant was we win locally, but rebel against King regulations and executive orders. He will take that local funding away. How do we get around that? I think that we have to get around that anyway. Okay, that's one of the issues is that we see locally. King Andy says, hey, you got to do this with solar panels, and hey, you got to do that with solar panels, and here's half the money to do this, and here's half the money to do that. So we end up taking on these infrastructure projects that start with a big chunk of money from the state, but then fall on our local municipalities and our local counties to maintain them. So that's what we have to stay away from. That's unfunded mandate stuff. And so, yes, they will take our money away, but guess what? Right now, they are not. New York State is falling behind on its payments, and they're like going to Trump and saying, give us our money. We need our money. You screwed up COVID, blah, 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 right? The blame game, the begging for money from higher ups. That's what's going on now. That's what localization seeks to destroy. We're going to grow our own economy. We're going to reject these unfunded mandates. We're going to do clean production of stuff in our own local communities, and we're going to get out of the way. We're going to take advantage of, in Otsego County, we're going to take advantage of tourism so that it benefits young people who want to own property in Otsego County. If they want to rent out their house for 5 or 6 weeks a year, no problem. Do it on Airbnb. You screw up, guess what? You better fix up your house before you do it again, because there's instant feedback on stuff like that, and it's individual to individual, and it's better. And so now we're seeing this, like, okay, let's let a new hotel come in, and let's stop doing that. Let's take care of our local communities. Let's put money in our kids' pockets. Side hustles. Counties can help with side hustles. I talk about our bus lines costing too much money. Help kids with a side hustle. Uber it up. County, if we want to help people get from point A to point B, and we can save some money by helping kids with a side hustle, let's do that. Let's stop answering quality of life issues with issues that don't serve our communities. All right. And in Otsego County, see empty buses all the time. It drives me crazy. Yes. That's too complicated. Libertarians like William Watt fought against Edward. Yes. Longshanks. No bigger government. No taxes. No. Yes. All of those things, Andrew. Thank you. Get government. Yes. One of the issues about milk is a complicated issue. If we don't get people away, because what's happening is people are drinking less milk. And apparently as you get older, even I am drinking less milk. And I used to drink a gallon of milk a day, or probably 3/4 of a gallon of milk a day when I was younger. And now I'm lucky if I drink a half a gallon a week. So people are drinking less milk, but they're eating more cheese. So, and you can make cheese practically unregulated. So farmers got to also take some steps to help themselves. Like they can make cheese. They can make some other products, maple syrup, stuff like that. But Larry has blown up, and I don't want to steal his ideas, but he always welcomes me to. But he's blown up this idea of, we can make a law in New York State if guys like me get elected and guys like Queter get elected. We can make a law in New York State that there are no restrictions on locally grown stuff. If you can get it in a store yourself, get it in a store yourself. And as long as it stays within the bounds of New York State, we can effectively make that law, because they've already made a law similar to it. And guys, if you have questions about this, let me know, because I'll do my best to reiterate Larry's idea. And I don't think it's just Larry's idea. I think it's an idea that's been successful out in Wyoming or Wisconsin. I'm not sure where. It's probably Wisconsin. But and Wisconsin has done something interesting with schools that we should talk about. So basically, the concept of, as long as it stays within the state of New York, it can be sold in whatever store, whatever fashion you want. So if you can sell it to a butcher that works for Price Chopper, if you can convince them to buy from you, that can happen as long as we keep it in New York. I think it would be very complicated to work its way through the whole system, but what a great idea that if I could convince a local, a local store to take my meat product and they were comfortable with it, I think that would be a good way to go. And I think we can do it with milk too. So yes, build up your neighbors and they will repay the favor. It is the easiest way to move past things forward, to grow our local communities. Absolutely. All right. So the 401vote.org left, imagine that. They left out the Libertarian and Green parties out of their education site. They further claim that those two parties are not qualified to answer any platform questions. Okay. He said he will escalate your concerns. I think that's kind of funny because that's the wrong word. But all right, that's awesome. But you know what, Shelly? Thank you for all of your effort on everyone's behalf. It's wonderful. All right. Let's move on to Garrett. Okay, the Declaration of Independence is the human history next step from the Magna Carta. Correct, yes. To which a society of people have the innate right to disband a tyrannical governing regime. A precedent was made which transcends time. I agree. That is how it came from the Magna Carta, which was like a Bill of Rights. And then they said the Magna Carta, these guys here in America who are paying taxes to a king across the ocean, said, and now we're still paying those taxes, Garrett. We're paying those taxes in a different way now. We're paying them with military. We're still paying taxes to the European community with NATO, through NATO, by sending our troops there, by offering them lethal. So what was the word with that when we were talking about the Ukraine? Lethal aid. Lethal aid. We're sending them tanks and equipment. So it's still a tax that we're paying to them. Yeah, we do. Me and you both, brother, and that's fine because we're passionate. I don't know if you watched Brian LaRusso last night. You probably did. He's passionate. There's a lot of passion when we're seeing what's happening in New York State, and we realize that maybe we could have started sooner, and maybe we could fix things faster. Fine, right? It's hard not to get fired up. We should be passionate. We should, but we got to be passionately in love with our communities too, and that's kind of what we're working on. So guys, remember the likes, the comments. If you have the guts to share this to your personal page, please do so. I love having conversations. I love growing this circle of warriors for liberty. I love it. I love that I'm participating in it. I love that I have the guts to freaking sit here in front of my computer and talk to you guys and try to answer your questions. And guys, we're still missing some. We didn't get as many Democrats here as I had hoped for. We did have one guy ask about weed legalization, Dylan Barber, which is a great question. Yes. We have to, it's going to be legalized. Yes, I understand your position there, Garrett. I do. And I think that I have a strategy you and I can talk about in private. And I've mentioned it a couple times. It's challenging, but I think that we can all make out better if we coalesce around a strategy. But your guys' strategy is great. And I even want to call it our strategy because I've participated so much with you guys. And so, how do you do this? We're all running in uncharted water. I'm trying to figure that out. I actually reached out to Brian. He said you had already mentioned it to him. So yeah, where do we stand? When I talked to Larry about running polls, he says they cost a lot of money and sometimes they don't help. So and I know you're talking about a different kind of poll, but I think that we gotta, wow, where are all these? I'm missing comments. So anyways, and I'm distracted by Josh Allen throwing a pick. What's the score now, Todd? We don't need it. We can refuse unfunded. Yes, that's it. Exactly. Yeah, that's how we do it, man. We share our ideas. That too. Because we overregulate a business, what happens is that the bigger businesses, the more aggressive people buy regulations, right? And those regulations get very expensive for smaller farms to compete. It's deliberate, it's on purpose, and they have actuaries that figure out how to do it. Yes. needs to go. Yes, check it out. All right, that's good. That's good. We have a cheese farm here in near in Milford too. A cheese place. They buy local milk and they make cheese. And I think that's a great way to do it. Our product here is good. So Cuba, New York. I took my kid wrestling up there for a wrestling tournament a couple years ago. Extricate Larry's idea of bail reform. Do you mean expand on it? Because I don't know Larry's exact idea on bail reform. I know my idea on bail reform. I think that, and Garrett, last night I had someone reach out to me about, Brian and I were talking about bail reform, and I gave a expeditious political answer, and I didn't get to it. I didn't expand on it enough. So I did have someone want to talk to me about that. Cuomo and another government constitutionally cannot close a place of worship. But he did. But he didn't. How do we fix that? Cuomo calls places of worship problem. Yeah, guys, I sent some of you a link to a Twitter page. I think if you get it, and I'll send it to you later, Andrew. If you get it, check it out. I don't want to talk a lot about Cuomo because he has a disproportionate power in the Zuckerberg world. So I want to be careful with that. But I agree with you. I don't think constitutionally they can close a place of worship. I think that as this plays out, New York State is going to cost itself a lot of money for how it's mishandled certain First Amendment rights. So, and I hope that that's true, kind of. Yes. Yeah. Well, wow. How did he lock you in your house? Oh, with the lockdown and stuff. Yes. Local all entities, which we as a. I'm gonna have to try to figure out what you're saying there, brother. Maybe. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Brian is awesome. He's so passionate. Please write and fight. We're going to fight, brother. Let's do it. 2810. Dang it. Thank you, Garrett. So do you, brother. And I love hanging out with you guys. I love Alan. I just love Alan. I love everyone that I've met. I love the energy that we are building. I love it. Yes, he does. I talked to a guy from Wisconsin who was a libertarian running for Assembly of Wisconsin Assembly seat. They literally already have education grants that follow the students around to wherever and whatever they want. So we grow this concept of school choice. We grow this concept of opportunity for our kids. We grow this concept of if they're passionate about something at a younger age, we get them involved in what they want to be passionate about. Goat products are selling well. I had some up at Brian's. I had goat cheese. It was delicious. Yes. Well, thank you. I'm in Otsego. Allegheny is not on my list of 9 counties to serve, but when we re-gerrymander and libertarians are controlling everything, I'll try to get Allegheny County included. Yeah, you should watch some of what Brian said if you get a chance. He's as passionate as we are, maybe even more so. Okay. Is that what you want to do? Bring the Farmer's Grange back. You're going to appoint. Okay. All right. See, that's what libertarians come up with solutions. They come up with ideas. They're going to put them into place. And that's what Andrew's going to do. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry about that, Shelly. But I am glad that you are able to participate with us here. All right. So guys, check this out. We're getting close to about the amount of time, but I did come up with a couple of things that I felt maybe Democrats would ask me about. All right. Number one, I think maybe they would ask me about how I felt about Tulsi Gabbard. And I would automatically go to, why didn't you guys nominate Tulsi Gabbard to run for president? I would automatically go to that. She's a middle of the road, civil liberties, civil rights Democrat who isn't pro-war, but is pro-defense. Okay. And first of all, she's just got a lot of respect for private enterprise. So why didn't the Democrat Party nominate Tulsi Gabbard? How in the world did we get where we are with the Democrats? All right. So I thought we would get to talk about Antonio Delgado a little bit and how Trump kind of actually likes Antonio Delgado, giving him some awards for voting the right way and stuff like that. But again, we got a great group of people here, so I'm loving this. All right. Oh, really? My daughter's boyfriend had COVID last week. My 28-year-old down in Virginia. He had 1 day of symptoms. They live in the same house. She never tested positive. I've been trying to get them to go get a COVID antibody test to see if she had it and didn't even know that she had it, like it was a asymptomatic without symptom transmission. Because I think that would be interesting information because she's 28. She's healthy. They both are they don't have diabetes or anything like that. So again, guys, you got to check out that thing I sent around on Twitter. If you send me a message if you want it, it's on Twitter. It's gonna break out, but I don't want to be the one that breaks it out. Not yet. I don't want to lose my platform on Facebook. All right. Oh, really? Well, first of all, as I mentioned to you, if Larry wants help with his campaign and he wants to build a slate, which is something that he mentioned to me, and he would want me to serve in a position on that slate where he can say, look, me and these 5 libertarians are taking these offices if I win or if we win. I would participate that wholeheartedly. I absolutely would. And besides, he's great. He's brilliant. I think I'm pretty smart, and I think he's more fluent. He's more fluid. He's quicker with these answers, and so I love that about him, and because I learned so much from watching him talk, and I realized that he's better. He can stand up in front of a group of people. I'm better sitting at my desk talking to people that I know think similar to me, and I really did want people from the Democrat Party to ask me questions. And I'm going to try again. I'm going to try this one again. I'm going to do outreach I'll take a Democrat on this show. And I offered it to Jim Barber. And guys, I'm not even kidding. Jim Barber's the guy that's running against me in Senate District 51. And I want it to be a fair conversation for him. So if he's listening tonight and he's interested, we can do it with the moderator, because I think maybe me on my show with my group of friends and him coming on, I think that might be awkward. And also I might get, I can be aggressive. So I think that we have a moderator. We have 5 or 6 questions that we agree to talk about. And talking about just 5 or 6 questions would take an hour. And I think that would be a very enjoyable hour. On Thursday at 10 a.m., he and I are doing a the Shenango County, I want to say voter awareness group. Okay. It's a bipartisan group. It's Democrats and Republicans. And they invited me, and they invited Jim Barber, and they invited Peter Robracher. And I think Peter should attend, but that's up to Peter. And Jim and I, at the very least, Jim and I are going to have an hour or so of time where we are answering questions from people and maybe have some conversation. And if it turns into a debate, fine. That's fine. But if it doesn't turn into a debate, that's also fine. If I convince them that big government solutions are what's killing this state, if I even get them to think about it, if I even get them to blink on that issue, I know I will have done my job. And if I convince all of you guys that I outworked him in that conversation and that we had a good conversation and that I'm totally cool and rational and I'm going to work with people no matter who they are and no matter what party they're from, I think that would be a good thing. And also, if I get passionate, I think that might be a good thing. So I'm looking forward to talking to Jim Barber a lot. And if he wants to come on this show, or if he wants to do this show to his page and my page at the same time with a moderator, I'm open to that, because I think that might be the fairest way for us to have a conversation publicly like this. But again, I will share that Zoom thing I'm a co-host of it anyway, so I'm going to share it. And guys, you'll see me talking to him and see how that goes. We're working on it. I think we all kind of have to realize that this is a big thing. That's why tonight I wanted to be a couple of Democrats here and asking tough Democratic questions that they might ask. And I don't want to mention some of the other ones. So we have a talent to tap them because there are people that realize, and Garrett, this is something you instinctually realize because of where you're coming from. But the state, some people love the state. Neocons, neolibs, they love the state. They want our state to be massive. And these John Jay Republicans, they want our state to be massive and powerful and enforce our will throughout the world. I want to export capitalism, and I want to export the notion that individual rights have saved this country and taken millions and millions of people out of poverty. That's what I want to export. But we can't. I don't know that we can export it at the end of a gun, at the point of the barrel of a gun. I think that that's a problem. I don't think we should be fighting in proxy wars, and I don't think we should be expending blood and treasure on foreign soil. And I've never felt that way. Even when George Bush was talking about the war on terror, I didn't like it, and it made me not like him. Excuse me. I apologize, guys. That was Omaha. All right. Yeah, see, that's the thing. What we've done to our young kids, guys, our younger adults, it's really, really bad. Well, thank you, Garrett. That's important. So one thing before I go tonight, I talked to a libertarian out in Auburn. And so what happens, guys, in upstate New York is that New York City ships their garbage up here, and we find these big, huge places, landfill places. And this is going to play out good. I hope I can treat this. I may have to expand on this in another show because we're, of course, getting out to the time that I like to do these for. But so what happens is they open these big, huge landfills in places that they find to be appropriate, where land isn't being used or something. Maybe a big farm retired, and it blocks it in nicely, and we don't leach it into the water. I agree with caring for the way that we get rid of our garbage. But what happens is now this town is burdened with garbage coming in from all over town. And they're like, well, what's right about that? What can we do better? And a libertarian solution to that would be because now the whole town's kind of inconvenienced by being a garbage dump, right? How can we take that? And it expands into the notion of pilot programs, okay? How can we take those things and turn them into positives for the community? Not just, and I know everybody in New York State thinks that if we turned it into revenue for the government, that turns it into a positive for the community. I don't agree with that. All right. I don't think that that's always the best way. Plus, pilot programs really, I got to say, would hurt my feelings if I had an existing business and they paid another business and gave them this huge break on taxes to come into my area and do something similar and compete for my employee pool. So that would bother me. So how do we fix that? We've got to do a better job of taking that money and lowering taxes for people in those communities affected by those things. And it's got to go out to public referendum. So let's say we're going to ship 80,000 tons of garbage to Auburn, and all the Auburn residents say, fine, give me $150 or $300 off my taxes, or whatever the number comes up with. Let's say the government starts, we'll give you 25, and all the Auburn residents say no, and it goes up to 150. What I'm saying is that probably right now, based on the system that the government uses of eminent domain and crafting laws to accept projects like this, that the residents of Auburn are actually underpaid for the amount of garbage that's being brought to their area. Does that make sense? So they're forcing a discounted garbage disposal rate on the citizens of Auburn, and the citizens of Auburn's taxes don't reflect that. There's no increase in convenience to living in Auburn next to a garbage dump anymore. Also, by the way, guys, you can check this out. New York City is built on garbage. 60% of the land, 40% of the land in New York City came from them expanding the whole island out into the ocean and the waterways. And they did it effectively, and they're not poisoning the waterways anymore. So maybe New York City ought to take care of its own garbage. Yeah, I don't want to use moron, but yeah, he was. Thank you, Andrew. Yes, by stealing you meant taxing for reader. Yes, there's no difference. There's no difference. All right, we are, and it will work. But I'm afraid that it's not going to work as well as we want it to work in one election cycle. But your guys' energy is impeccable. It's huge. And maybe it will work. I don't want to take the possibility. I don't think I'm going to win an election. I don't think Ola's going to win an election. I think Delgado's got this The Republican Party abandoned New York State a long time ago. I don't want to be negative, man. I want this energy to continue. I love the energy, and I think it's huge, right? If I had $1 million, I would be like, let's build this movement. Let's keep it going. Let's not let anyone get discouraged. Let's keep bringing people in. And that's why you guys can donate money to me, because if I do have $1 million, that's what I'm going to do with it. And if you have $1 million and you want to give it to me, we'll figure out a way to make it legal and accept it tax-free somehow. There's got to be a way. Touchdown bills. Well, there we go. They're not done yet. He's not going. Hey guys, if I missed some comments, I'm sorry. Thank you all for being here. We're out at about an hour. If I keep going, my voice is going to get really hoarse. I think what we're doing is important. We're warriors for liberty. We're warriors for the individual rights. We're warriors for our communities, not to advantage an individual, but to bring back economic opportunity for our children, for our future, for our friends' children. If we don't have children, if they don't, you know what I'm saying, man. We need more economic opportunity. I have ideas that will bring it back to Senate District 51, and I have lots of them. I've done lots of video, and I'm going to keep doing these videos, and that's the thing. Yes, ironically, yeah, that's the Oberus, right? The snake eating in its own tail. The government finds itself. Yeah, the communities need to be compensated for that. We will. We will. It's got to grow. It's got to grow like a tree, right? If we just do it from one spot, it's got to grow big. We've got to do it like all around New York, all around the Senate District 51, all around New York 19, all around Central New York. And then, right. And that's why we're fighting this battle. Absolutely. Garrett Dumain, thank you for being here. Michelle, thank you for being here. Ryan, thank you for being here. Shelly, guys, Mark Decker, guys, all of you, thank you for being here. It is much appreciated. If you have any more questions about this, again, I had a 30-minute conversation with someone today about bail reform. That's why I jumped all over it to begin with. And guys, if you know a Democrat, if you are a Democrat and you're not afraid to come on this show, please invite them on. Come on. I know you're out there. I know you're out there. Come on this show. We'll talk about it. We'll work it out. You know the thing. Where'd it go? I lost that comment. Yes. What's up, Laird? We all do, man. We all do. Yes. All right, guys. Thank you all very much. Share this to your page if you're brave enough. And guys, please find a Democrat that's willing to talk to me. All right. Besides Joe, besides, I lost his name now. Well, anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night. I will.